Let's breathe into that energy. Take a big breath in, everyone. Breathe out through your nose. We welcome you all here this morning. We welcome our online viewers too. Today we're going to talk about using our time, how time passes, what we're doing with our time. But here's what we're always doing, even if we don't realize we're doing it. We're rejuvenating. Flowers grow in the springtime with water, sun, and care. Through the summer and autumn, their scent will fill the air. The winter winds begin to blow, and where the flowers go, well, nobody knows. But come next May, they will rejuvenate. Now trees ablaze in September will slowly start to fade, and though the branches and trunks remain, the leaves will fall away. Where the winter winds begin to blow, and where the leaves all go to, nobody knows. Oh, but come next May, they'll all rejuvenate. Now we are also God's creations. There are times when pieces of us die and fall away. Spirit then will enter in and give us what we need, so we can all rejuvenate. Birds fly south in the winter, time and time again, and other creatures will find a place, and they will burrow deep within. When the winter winds begin to blow, they're safe and sound, 'cause they all knew where to go. And seasons change and they will rejuvenate. We are also God's creation. There's a time when we must find a place to hibernate. That's when Spirit enters in and gives us what we need, so we can all rejuvenate. So now I tell everybody who is worried for your fate, trust that love is within you and just patiently awaits. And when your winter winds begin to blow and you have no idea which way you should go, well, you just trust God's grace and then you'll rejuvenate. You'll be okay, you will rejuvenate. We'll find our way, we all rejuvenate.
Thank you, Jennifer. And we welcome not only our in-person congregation, but our virtual congregation. I'm Reverend Robin Volker with Unity of Gainesville. And today's message is A Time for Everything. In 1975, two musical notes struck fear in the hearts and minds of anyone who heard them. These two notes worked their way into the psyche of people and created fear, terror, and made them think of impending death. This is John Williams' score from the movie Jaws. First, an E, followed by an F. They were first played with 6 cellos and 3 basses.
Oh, wow.
These 2 notes remind me of 2 notes in our lives. And when these 2 notes are played together, they can set us on the run for fear of what the future might bring. The E note represents expectations. Expectations are all of those things that we thought life would be. A happy home, a loving partner, a generous salary, great kids, a famous reputation, lots of money in the bank, great health, all of those things that were on our expectation list. And the E note would be great if it was played with other E notes in our life score. But the E note of expectation is also played with the F note of failed expectations. The F note represents failed marriages, kids that didn't turn out the way we wanted them to, bank accounts that are less than we dreamed of, disease that manifests in our bodies, friends that forsook us, heartbreak at different levels in our lives. When we begin to play the note of expectation alongside the note of failed expectation, then a kind of Jaws theme begins to play out in our lives. And we become afraid to even dream, perhaps to even live. We get very fearful and withdrawn. But let's imagine on this yellow ribbon Sunday, a new way to combine those 2 notes in our lives and know that the E's and the F's, the expectations and the failed expectations, are all a part of the mix. And that is a part of the grand design. And it is a part of the divine order in our lives. In the book of Ecclesiastes, well, the book itself, Ecclesiastes, it's a very poetic book in the Bible, very short book and very poetic, and it has long been attributed to King Solomon as the author. But modern theologians are not so sure that Solomon was actually the author. It doesn't really matter for this conversation who the author was, but to know that in these poetic words, we can find some advice for the E's and the F's of our lives. This is how it goes in Ecclesiastes 3, one of my favorite scriptures. For everything there is a season, and a time for every matter under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to throw away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. Let's break it down. A time to be born and a time to die. Did you ask to be born?
Maybe.
Maybe. That's the right answer. Maybe your soul volunteered to be on the planet at this time in 2020 and living through whatever you're living through in the circumstances of your life. Maybe your soul volunteered to be love even when it didn't feel love. And we will all face death at one time or another. I don't know that anyone can get out of it. We all have that divine appointment to cross back into pure spirituality, pure spirit. So there is a time for all things to be born and a time for all things to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. Everything comes at the appropriate time. There's a time to plant and a time to have it grow, and then a time to remove that which was planted or no longer serves. Everything has an appropriate time. And if we get out of sync with that rhythm, then what we planted is not going to grow the way that we wanted it to grow. I have a beautiful rosemary bush at home, but it's in the wrong place, so it's all deformed. And instead of growing straight up, it grows out like this. Try to plant a crop in the dead of winter, or even before Mother's Day or the last frost in May, and what do you get? Nothing. A waste of time and energy and resources. My mom always planted with the signs of the zodiac. Of course, I never paid attention to what she was studying in the Farmer's Almanac. I just throw it out there whenever I have 5 minutes to throw it out. But she was meticulous about studying what were the right signs. Even if it was a beautiful day and things were perfect, if the sun was in the wrong sign, no planting. A large part of the problems of our lives is because we are trying to plant our ideas in conditions that are not ready for those ideas. We're not following the schedule of our lives. So there's a time to plant your ideas, there's a time to tend to your ideas, and there's a time to harvest your ideas and to clean the garden and let it lie barren. A time to kill and a time to heal. We celebrate healing on all levels when it comes to us with ease and grace, don't we? But does it always show up that way? Does healing always show up with a beautiful package and a nice little yellow bow on top? No, it doesn't. And sometimes healing comes to us, it's very painful. And it seems arduous, and we get discouraged and fearful and weary of the journey. Sometimes healing is about not staying in the body, if we're talking about physical healing. And healing happens on all levels, doesn't it? It's not just about the physical body, but it's also about our emotional health, our mental health. What about our relationships? Sometimes don't our relationships need healing, and sometimes don't we need to just let them wither and die? And what about financially? Are there some stocks in your portfolio that you might want to wither and die? But others you're willing to to nurture them and wait for them to heal and bring forth the profit that you seek. A time to break down and a time to build up. Youth is the time for building up, isn't it? We build up muscles when we're young. We've got lots of testosterone and estrogen flowing through our bodies, and we're strong and we're ready to take on whatever. And we build families and we build our lives and we build our careers. But as we make our way around the sun a few times or a few decades, we start to break down. And there's a sag here, and a sag here, and a sag in other places. Sag everywhere. You could make a song out of that. Sag here, sag there, sag everywhere.
I have a song called Random Stuff That Happens When We Get Old.
We might see this breakdown in our lives when the print gets smaller, when the steps that we need to take get higher, when time goes faster and faster, and people speak in lower and lower voices. And all of this is not bad. We call it aging, and some of us are terrified of it. It is like the Jaws theme come to life. But it is all just a part of the journey. A time to weep and a time to laugh. None of us will escape the ups and the downs of life. Sometimes there's hurts and sorrows. And sometimes there's joy and delight. I don't know of anyone in my personal experience or in literature, even Jesus, who escaped a life with no sorrow or no hurt. A time to mourn and a time to dance. In our humanness, we feel joy and we want to celebrate that. You know, we were talking about standing up and moving and clapping because we felt joy this morning. And then there are times that we are sad and we mourn. And we've had things to mourn in this experience in the last 3 months. We may want the joy and the celebration to last forever, but aren't we glad that the tears and the pain don't last forever? A time to throw away stones and a time to gather stones together. Stones represent our foundation, the foundation upon which we stand. And there are times to build that foundation, to gather those stones, and to put together a steady foundation to stand upon. And then there are times that we may need to remodel. We may need to remodel our habits, our thought processes, our actions. So we need to tear those stones out and have a remodeling party for our lives. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. We know that, don't we? It is so very challenging to see you in person after not seeing you for so long and not just want to grab you and give you a mama bear hug. With the COVID-19 Jaws theme playing in our heads, we have to refrain from embracing. And we have to just embrace with our eyes, and our words, and our namaste. And we hold to the truth that there will be a time when we can hug freely without the fear that we will make someone deadly sick. This verse in the poem is also about boundaries. We need to know when our support is needed. People need people right now. People need people. We are a social species. And we We can live alone for long periods of time, but we will not be complete if we don't have people in our lives. So know when there's a time when you need to make that phone call and say, I was just thinking about you and praying for you. God told me to call you. My heart told me to call you. And just say hello. And then there are other times that we might need to get out of somebody else's business and let them stand on their own 2 feet. So it's both. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to seek and a time to lose. We have times in our lives when we seek a partner, we seek an education, we seek a career, we seek new friends, we even seek a spiritual community. And then there are times when those relationships change. In every relationship, someone always leaves. In every relationship, someone always leaves. One partner in the relationship will either leave or die. It's not bad. It's just part of the divine order. There comes a time when even those things that we love, that we have to leave them. That we are called to other things. So the completion of relationships, of education, of work experiences, of friendships, all of these things, it's just a part of the process. A time to keep and a time to throw away. Are you a keeper? Are you a throwawayer? I'm a keeper. Who's a keeper? If you're online, put it in the chat bar. I'm a keeper and I'm married to a keeper.
So you need to hire me because I'm a thrower-awayer.
So we need to hire Jennifer. So we have a big house and it's full of stuff. Isn't that great? And what about beyond stuff? What about values and standards? We need to keep our values and standards, don't we? We need to know what we stand for. We need to know what's important to us. And we need to let all the other stuff that's not important, perhaps, go by the wayside. Kick it to the curb. Put it in the recycle. Do something else with it. And relationships, too. Sometimes we need to look at those. We need to look and see, is this relationship still serving me? So for 2 decades, keeper to keeper, we're still together, keeping it together.
Keeping it together.
A time to tear and a time to sow. What might need to be severed in your life? And what might need to be mended? Our codependency keeps us attached in places where we might need to tear away. And our ego keeps us from mending what needs to be mended. A time to keep silence and a time to speak. This has got several layers to it. What about gossip? Gossip is when you tell someone else's story to a third person. We're all guilty. There's something in the human psyche that makes us want to tell something juicy or startling or even sad or even good. But be mindful, are you telling your story? It's one thing to talk about how you are experiencing something, and it's another thing to talk about what you've heard about someone else's experience. And what about words spoken in haste, or anger, or upset, or when you're hangry? Do y'all know what hangry is?
The girls do.
Yeah. I get hangry sometimes, and that's why I get angry when I'm hungry. And it's not pretty. And then after I eat, I'm a totally different person. And I wonder why, I clawed somebody's eyes out. I know you expect me to be perfect, but I'm not. I'm not. And also in this verse, it's about saying what needs to be said. If you know something that needs to be said and you don't say it, then you're keeping silent when you shouldn't be keeping silent, or when you have a choice to not be keeping silent. So this particular verse could use some meditation, couldn't it? It could use some taking it deep and revisiting. A time to love and a time to hate. Charles Fillmore said, "Love is the pure essence of being. It's that stuff that binds us together as a human family. It's one of the many attributes of God. And on our spiritual path, we desire to embody love in all we do." Fillmore wrote, "In divine mind," that's in God, "love is the power that joins and binds in divine harmony the universe and everything in it. Love is the great harmonizing principle of mankind." He goes on to say, divine love is impersonal. It loves for the sake of loving. It is not concerned with what or who loves it, nor with the return of love. Like the sun, its joy is in shining forth its nature. In Corinthians 13:4, this is written. Paul wrote, "Love suffers long, is kind, love envies not, love vaunts not itself, it is not puffed up." Of hate, Fillmore says this, "The remedy of hate is love, peace, and harmony." He also says there's no room for hate in the superconscious mind of God. Anything unlike love does not exist in God. Anything unlike love does not exist in God. In Unity, we teach to place our thoughts on what we want, not on what we don't want. So focus on love. Focus on the love in you. Focus on sharing that love with others. Take that viral. Create space for love in your life. And grow so much love that you squeeze out the hate, just like a healthy garden will squeeze out the weeds. A time for war and a time for peace. War can be defined as conflict turned violent. And conflict in and of itself is not bad. Conflict is actually fertile ground for opportunity. In Murfreesboro, Arkansas, There's a state park there called the Crater of Diamonds. How many of you have heard of Crater of Diamonds State Park? Anybody been there? Have you been there? Oh, Darlene's been there. She has to tell us all about it.
No diamonds.
There's a site, this is a site where the public can search for diamonds. And for a small fee, visitors pay to go to this 38 acres that sits on top of a volcanic vein. And every so often, they take a tractor and they plow up the field, and then you get to sift and sort and look for diamonds and gemstones. It's on Rick Volker's bucket list.
Ooh, that sounds neat.
So when you look at this place, I've read about it, haven't been there yet. When you look at it, it looks like a treeless wasteland of dirt and rocks. But there are also diamonds and gemstones mixed in with all that dirt and rock. This is a perfect picture to hold in your mind for the value of conflict. Conflict, when we look at conflict, all we see is dirt and rock. And we either want to run away from it or just totally pretend like it's not there. No matter how your response is to conflict, if you can bear in mind that inside of all of that dirt and rock and yucky stuff that you have to dig through, you can find the jewels of new thoughts, new ways of being, a higher consciousness, or for one person, a 40.23 carat diamond. We cannot get to peace until we are willing to dig through the dirt of our humanity. We have to be willing to look at ourselves and to remove from our consciousness any thoughts that we have that are contrary to the holding of peace and love. In verse 11 of chapter 3, He, God, has made everything suitable for its time. All these pieces and parts, they're all a part of your beautiful life. All the things that seem contrary to each other are necessary to have a complete experience of your humanness. And we must learn to live with both the E notes of expectation, which simply means the anticipation of our greatest good, and with the F notes of our failed expectations, which represent all the ways that we are not allowing God's goodness to in our lives. We know that all of our desires are created in God's mind in the moment we have the desire. So there is a great field of your desires waiting for you to bring them into manifestation. There is a time for everything. Let's spend some time in reflection and meditation. am love, I am.
I am love, I believe it.
I am love, I believe it.
I am love, I am.
I am love, I am.
I am.
I am love. I can feel it. And as we sink into this time of meditation and reflection, we are reminded that it is not I, but the Christ within who does the work. We set aside all the distractions and allow our minds to settle like the silt settling to the bottom of a pond. We draw in a deep cleansing breath. Become still and centered in our awareness of oneness with divine mind and with each other. In this quiet, sacred space, we allow loving thoughts and feelings to enfold us. We're comforted by this idea of God's love becoming who we are. We choose to reach for a place of higher consciousness and connection to all that is. So as we pause and just breathe into this space, we feel the love of God flowing through us. Feel that love moving freely in and out of your body as you breathe. And in your mind, affirm, I radiate peace with every thought, word, and action. I radiate peace. Choose to radiate peace in this very moment. Feel the inner peace of God within you. Envision beams of peace shining from you and all around you. And allow this peace to soothe you. The wisdom of God lives within me. Affirm that to yourself. The wisdom of God lives within me. Choose to live this day with clarity and purpose. Know that the presence of God is always with you and that you are on the right path to your greater good. Breathe in the idea of God's wisdom within you. Claim my wholeness in mind, body, and emotion. Know the truth that you are a divine and perfect child of God. It is time to embrace your wholeness and claim your birthright. Breathe in the idea that nothing can disturb your sense of well-being. Affirm complete health and envision every cell responding to that Christ light within you. Pause and breathe. I am prospered by We know it is not money or material possessions that make us prosperous. It is the state of consciousness that knows no lack and knows all our needs are met. Feel now that God is blessing you in rich and abundant ways. And pause again and allow this work to be done in consciousness. I see the world through the eyes of love. I see the world through the eyes of love. In this moment, allow all that is not love to fade into the distant. And allow only love to come into your field of vision. Allow this love to radiate from your heart. Call forth the peace that this love inspires. As we pause for one last breath, we bathe the world with love and peace. Drawing a deep and cleansing breath, we begin to draw this prayer time to a close. We are renewed and refreshed and allow God's work to be done in perfect divine order. We affirm, I am love, I am spirit, I am.
I am love, I can feel it. I am love, I am.
I am love, I am.
I am love, I can see it.
I am love, I can see it.
I am love, I am.
I am love, I am.
I am love, I believe it.
I am love, I believe it.
I am love, I am.
I am love, I am.
I am. I
can feel it. And this is an opportunity for us to share of our financial love with Unity of Gainesville. It's a sacred and holy time to share the gifts of all that we have for this spiritual community. We have made it easy for anyone to give right from your seat or in our virtual congregation. Our text to give number is 833-987-2047. You simply text that number into the address line of your text function, and then any amount you wish to give in the message line, you'll be walked through prompts of this secure, dedicated service for Unity of Gainesville. So take your gift and hold it over your heart. Let's repeat our offertory blessing together, knowing that this is true for each of us. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I choose to give and all that I am open to receive. I give in love and receive in abundance. Thank you, God. I am so blessed.
I now use the gifts I have and bring them to the table, filled with all life's passion. Lord, I'm willing and I'm able to loose these chains of doubt I've had and watch them disappear. Moving through my life as everything's becoming clearer, 'cause I am alive in this world, and I am a child of sacred worth, and I have gifts that I choose to bring. My path is blessed each day, blessed each day. This is the prayer I pray. I was singing another song in my head. It happens a lot. Searching for compassion in the ignorance of youth, guided on my way from day to day. I learn my own truth. I do my best to learn the first time, so the lesson's not repeated. Fill myself with mighty strength when I feel defeated, 'cause I am a light in this world, and I am a child of sacred worth, and I have gifts that I choose to bring. My path is blessed each day. This is the prayer I pray.
And we pray a prayer of gratitude for each gift, for each one who has been with us in in-person church and in our virtual church. We appreciate your presence. We appreciate your support. And let us close with our prayer for protection The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And we affirm that all is well for you and your life.